My name's Pete Smith and I work at the University of Aberdeen. I work on emissions from the land, so agriculture, forestry, and all those things. I work on the greenhouse gas emissions from the land and how to reduce them. If we don't get on top of the climate change problem, we're going to have a situation, a world that is unlivable as we know it. So, we're now heading into a climate change which would be dangerous and would be sort of beyond the bounds that we could easily adapt to. So it really matters that we get a handle on climate change and we do our best to address it really soon, because the window of opportunity is rapidly closing. So we have to get our act together and address climate change now. So Scotland's contribution in my area is that we have a lot of land. So I work on greenhouse gas emissions from the land and how we can reduce the emissions and how we can use the land as a carbon sink, so to suck up CO2 from the atmosphere. So in particular, Scotland has a very large peatland area. A lot of that peatland is degraded. So we can restore that peatland and protect the pristine peatlands, and they're an important carbon stock, and they can suck carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Scotland has an important role to play. Firstly, in reducing our emissions, and we have legally binding targets to reduce our emissions. We're going to try to get to net zero by 2045. So I think it can serve as an example for other countries of how an industrialized nation can reduce its emissions. So I think there's an important role there, both in what we're doing and also an important role in global leadership to show that it can be done, and it can be done, you know, in an equitable and fair way. I think we more or less know what we need to do to reach net zero, and that's a rapid transition away from fossil fuels and emitting technologies. What we perhaps know a little bit less about is the exact pathway to do that. So what are the cost-effective ways of reducing our emissions across all sectors in a way that allows us to transition to low carbon technologies? So I think there's still a little uncertainty and debate about exactly how fast we can go. We know that we need to go really fast, but there's a debate about, you know, how fast we can go in all of the different sectors. My ideal outcome from COP26 would be to have all the countries coming together and putting their nationally determined contributions on the table. That's the commitments that they make to cut emissions. And when we added them all up, finding that gets us to the Paris targets, either 2 degrees or even better, 1.5 degrees temperature rise above pre-industrial times. I think also the working out the mechanism of how to get the climate finance from the industrialized countries to the developing countries, because we know a lot of that mitigation action, the emissions reduction, will need to be done in developing countries. So we have to help them to make that transition.